Greetings, fellow investigators, and welcome to our video podcast, Into the Darkness, where my friends and I play the Call of Cthulhu role-playing game. I'm your host, Tom Rayleigh. The scenario is Under the Winter Snow. It was written by Nathan Ross, and it's available from Drive-Thru RPG. And our game master is David Gassaway. This is a one-shot and the first time we are running it. So without any further delay, let's begin our journey into the darkness. David?
It is late January in 1921 in North Dakota. And in the small town of Eisner, a confusing new illness has reared its head. Local Dr. Antle has contacted the county medical examiner, and he has assembled a small team to go into the town of Eisner and see if they can determine the nature and degree of danger that this illness presents. It's only a couple of years since the Spanish flu swept through. And so you find yourselves leaving the county seat and driving northwest toward the hamlet of Eisner in a county wood-sided wagon in which you can all introduce or reintroduce yourselves as you enter the little town.
Well, it's not every day that we get visitors from the county seat, but I guess we got some problems going on. Are you all from around here, or is this horrible winter new to you folks?
Oh, it's not that new. Just I'm Brad McFarley from Minot Daily News, journalist, here to cover this. This is fascinating.
Oh, well, Mr. McFarley, I hope you're going to write us up as it's not this wholesome town. You know, it's not the kind of place where bad things happen very often. But you know, this is just disease. We don't want to ruin the tourist trade. We don't have much tourist trade. I'm just joking with you. By the way, I'm Sheriff Tolbert Nix, Sheriff Nix.
It's a pleasure to meet you, Sheriff.
Well, Sheriff, it is nice to meet you in person. I'm Dr. Chambers.
Dr. Chambers, yeah. Doc Antle told me that you were coming.
What do you think, Doctor Chambers? Is this illness that's spreading? Does it sound like it might have anything to do with the Spanish flu?
Well, that's one of the reasons why I assembled this team in the first place. I'd like to figure that out as soon as possible. I mean, if it is as contagious and as deadly as the Spanish flu, we need to get it contained as now. We can't let this spread.
What the local doctor made clear to you is that he is confused, doesn't recognize exactly what's happening, but the disease attacks people who are otherwise healthy. It can have a quick onset, and it has led to multiple deaths in a matter of a couple of weeks.
Yeah, we're not. At least Dr. Antle isn't sure what it is, and until I get a look, I have no idea. I can't offer any more information.
Well, I hope this is important, because I was trying to enjoy my week off with my husband until I wasn't called in.
Oh, I'd say that people dying from disease is a rather important issue. I'm so sorry it disrupted your weekend.
Miss Curtis, I think that you're going to have to help control the way Mr. McFarley paints a picture of this situation. We don't want people panicking now. We don't want them.
I'm not for a sensationalist story, Sheriff. I just want to get the facts. That's all.
Well, Dr. Chambers, I didn't mean to sound insensitive, but I've been very stressed recently. It's tough, so I was trying to enjoy my week off.
Well,
Right. And I see Professor Summers couldn't make it.
No. He's indisposed. He's taking a medical leave.
And you're also a doctor?
No, grad student from Black Hills University down in Spearfish, South Dakota.
Well, I hope then that you'll be of use to Dr. Lawrence. And
I hope I aim to be, sir.
well, we're in for a bumpy ride. This ain't no major highway leading out here, so just hold on to your hats.
And indeed, it's a county road that you're on as you enter the hamlet of Eisner, population 700 plus. The county road passes through the town, and its local name is Hart Road, Hart as in deer. And the town is that road, one other significant road that heads off to the north, Butcher Road. There's a small lake and a creek that runs out of it, and several smaller roads that branch off the main two. But it's very much an isolated local community. You've got chains on the wheels of the truck, and even so, you have to mind your driving as you come into town, because there has been snowfall, and it is, hovering at the warmest time of day around freezing. I have one question: does anybody in the wagon have any sort of weapon other than the sheriff's?
Not sure
I
would bring a weapon.
I have 2 pens and 2 pencils, and the pencils are very sharp.
Yes, and in the right circumstances, those can indeed be deadly. And so you should discuss, basically, you only know 2 places in town. Dr. Antle's small clinic, you know where that is. And also, he's arranged for you all to stay at a small rooming house, and you know where that is.
Yeah,
so
that's
it's up to you to decide.
Molly Quill's place, Eisner.
It's the Rutgers.
The Rutgers. Oh yeah, I forgot about them.
So it's your choice whether you'd want to rush to the clinic or stop off at the inn, rooming house, really.
Well, if it's the same to you, gentlemen, and Miss Curtis, I'd like to go to the clinic first.
Well, let's do this. I'll drop you off at the clinic. You leave your stuff in the car, and I'll drive it on over to the inn, and we'll get y'all situated up there. And I'll come back and see if you need anything.
Okay, so you can see the Rutger house. It's really just a farmhouse with some add-ons just off the side of the road, and you drive past it and take a left onto a smaller lane where you find Doc Antle's clinic, and all but the sheriff get out. The clinic is a private house with an addition built onto it. Normally there are 2 beds that he maintains, but he's actually set up 2 cots. And Dr. Antle meets you at the door with his 2 nurses.
Dr. Antle.
I'm glad you could come. Please come in out of the cold. We should shut the door right away. You made excellent time, actually. Welcome.
Yes. Well, I came as fast as I could get people together.
Good. I recognize your voice, Dr. Chambers. Everyone, I'm Dr. Antle. These are my nurses, Nurse Haddix and Nurse Denham.
Charmed.
Dahlgren. Nurse Dahlgren has been with me for several years. Haddix only 2. We've been well, we're all a little overtired right now. Make yourselves. I've got a parlor. Nurse Haddix, could we have a bit of tea and then we'll see the patients? And she bustles off, and he asks you to be seated.
When did you first notice this outbreak, Doctor?
Oh, the journalist. Mr. McPhee?
Oh, McFarley, Brad McFarley. A pleasure to meet you, Doctor.
Welcome. I'll give you all access to my notes after you've seen the current clinics and the residents. I was first aware of something unusual on the 12th, but at this point I recognized that it began earlier. There's at least one patient of this syndrome or whatever it is that passed before I knew there was something unusual. The second two gentlemen were in my care throughout, and so I could track it. I've also seen at least 4 other cases who were still in their residences that have not yet become severe enough or unwilling to come into the clinic. And we don't have that much space here, and I don't know whether there's a danger of cross-contagion. The simplest way to put it is that the victim of this contagion begins to cough generally, a dry cough, a shallow cough. Breathing gets increasingly uneasy. Fever is not a constant, although there is at times a spike in fever. There are periods of weakness to the point of swooning and fainting. Patients find it impossible to rest comfortably. And the period from initial onset to grave illness can be a matter of only a few days.
Wow.
Yes. And currently we have 3 departed and at least 6 infected, and I think 8 infected. So in a matter of almost no time at all, that is tremendous. Also, these aren't members of the same family. It's scattered in a way that I'm not entirely capable of understanding. So I hope I'm not overreacting, or rather, I hope I am overreacting. Sorry.
So we're here to find out. So, any attempts at contract tracing, you can't find
There's no obvious connection, except that this is not a large community. Most people go to church of a Sunday. We have one small family restaurant in town. At least 2 of the patients ate there, and other people might have had a cup of coffee. I haven't even been able to speak to everyone. Not all the patients are always lucid.
Oh, now are you the only physician in town?
Oh yes, yes. I've been in practice here for 18 years. Again, Nurse Dahlgren, she's the fair one. She's been with me through her training. She was still a student when she came to work with me. Nurse Haddix came on a couple of years ago. And normally, this is normally people are coming from rural areas outside of town because I'm not that busy. Right now I'm feeling a bit overwhelmed. Tom, you drive back down Hart Road to the Rutger house.
Right.
It's just a large farmhouse. It's not a proper inn. The Rutgers are an older couple who are semi-retired who have begun to let rooms. And they situate the things into a few rooms and flutter about and offer you coffee and biscuits and whatnot.
And of course, I tell them that I thank you kindly, but I do have to get back to the others. We're getting debriefed by Dr. Atler.
And they're clearly eager to hear what's going on. Like they know something's afoot, and they try to hide how anxious they are to find out what's going on, so they can run around and tell everybody why the outsiders are here.
Sure. And I don't want you spreading no disinformation. We got to keep the peace in this town.
Oh, Sheriff, the last thing we want is a panic. We're happy to see you in town, but if there is something going on, if there is something that we're not being told, we deserve to know.
Well, you're all going to be. We'll definitely pull everybody together and talk to them about it once we know what's going on. But it's very cold outside. It's a pretty bad winter this year. You all stayed nice and warm and toasty in your house. And
will you all be having supper here tonight?
oh, very likely, probably. I'll ask them, but let's just assume that we're going to be eating here tonight. They've had a trip.
We'll prepare for that. And I do hope that there's no cause for alarm.
Of course. Oh, now you all take care, and I'm going to get back to the others. Which point
is there anything that you folks would like? Any further questions before you enter the clinic and look at the patients?
Yes, Jamie. At some point, I would like to get my hands on, like, any files, documents on just the patients that you currently have, and then any local files on the local households and stuff like that, just so I can compile a fuller picture based on what I already know about this place. Just for personal and professional purposes.
Presumably professional, rather than personal. Good heavens. Let's. Dr. Antle will usher everybody into the clinic, and both presumably you've had a spot of tea and whatever warmed your chilblains since being outside. By the time you go to the clinic, both nurses are in it. And again, there are 2 beds and 2 cots, and 4 patients between them. It's a youngish man, a middle-aged woman, an older man, and a teenage boy are in the clinic, and they're all, done up. There's some, so there's some mentholated wraps. There's a mustard wrap. There's blankets on somebody. There's ice packs on somebody. There's a little bit of moaning, but they're mostly not really. The patients are mostly not really aware of their surroundings. The doctor will hand you his journal from the beginning of this investigation.
Let's see. January 12th, 1921. The Giller, male, 37, presented with feelings of weakness, persistent cough, prescribed Drama whiskey to clear lungs. No sign of phlegm or other infection, however. The 14th, patient complains of aches and severe muscle cramping. Fell when leaving clinic, keeping him overnight for observation. Suffered from disturbed sleep throughout the night. Did not wake but was highly active and cried out several times. Has developed a fever, 101 degrees Fahrenheit. Fever has worsened, 103 degrees Fahrenheit. And sorry, what is his name? My reading cursive is terrible.
Tiller.
Filler?
Tiller.
Tiller. Oh, it's a T. Okay, my bad. Tiller cannot get out of bed due to weakness. Second dose of whiskey, no signs of pneumonia. On the 16th, patient wakes only intermittently, delirious, non-responsive, cannot awaken. He passed at 2:19 p.m. That is very quick.
God, just 4 days. Well, less than 4 days.
Might be more severe. I think you might be correct if all of them were.
Such a fast onset of fever.
Now I understand why we all are here.
This should be the second one.
Okay, on the 15th, we have Vincent, age, female, 54, complained of tight binding feeling in chest and suffering from restricted breathing. That is an R. My goodness, these glasses are not good enough apparently. Okay, no signs of congestion or inflammation. Wanted to keep her overnight, but she insisted she return home. On the 16th, there was a house call patient suffering bouts of severe nausea and low-grade fever, still refusing to stay at clinic. B. Vincent, her husband, confided that she had been out of sorts for 2 days prior to seeking treatment, left him with strict instructions to prevent spreading infection to himself. On the 18th house call, patient appeared pale and complained of chills. Examination revealed reduced muscle strength and bleeding at the back of the throat. Patient also had difficulty focusing. Husband reports that she has slept poorly the last 2 nights. On the 21st house call by B. Vincent, patient's condition has deteriorated, has not slept for periods of greater than 30 minutes at a time, fears going to sleep and suffers delusional episodes. Prescribed sedative to help patient rest. B. Vincent admitted to shortness of breath and intermittent cough. On the 22nd, H. Vincent passed during the night.
Just 6 days, 5.5 days.
Yeah.
Plus the 2 days beforehand.
Yeah, plus 2 days beforehand. Still, it's like a week of longest.
Symptoms, that set of symptoms is very interesting, how it leads to death so quickly.
That's what's astonishing. And it isn't acting like the Spanish flu at all. It isn't acting like a seasonal flu. I haven't seen any signs of pneumonia. The cough remains dry and shallow.
Or any of these, has an autopsy been done on either of the deceased?
No, we have not. We can't bury them, of course, because the ground's harder than steel. So the 3 who have passed, because Sam Eastman is the first, although at that point I didn't think there was anything unusual. But they're all resting in the church basement until we can give them a proper burial.
Well, could you go over with me so we could do introductions with the people at the church? But I would like to perform an autopsy. I want to know what killed these people.
Yeah, I'll make that arrangements. I'll call the Reverend at his home and make sure we can get in. In the meantime, if you'd like to, if you can see anything regarding these 4 patients that I can't, I'd be most grateful.
Well, Mr. Shaw, what do you think of this?
It is rather strange. And hi, I'm from a college in South Dakota. I'm up here shadowing Dr. Chambers. You said that not everyone was having a fever?
Fever appears, but it is intermittent. But it's not like I'm bringing it down and it's coming back up. It seems to come in waves, or it just comes and goes. And if it built in a consistent fashion, it would make more sense to me. But an hour after I take someone's temperature, they can read as normal, and then 2 hours later it can spike again. And they're not eating. I don't even know where they're getting the energy to burn up like this when they do.
Huh.
At that point, the teenage patient who's on a cot sort of stirs and and he sits up. He's quite drawn, red around the eyes, and obviously, you know, damp with sweat. And he you know, you can hear his like wheezy, shallow breathing as he pants. And he says, he wants something from me. He wants something from me.
Oh, calm down there, son.
And the older nurse Haddix, who's you know, has a darker complexion, sort of, you know, props a pillow up behind him and rests a hand on his forehead, and she says, he's burning up. He's burning up again.
Dr. Antle, you said that in your notes here that this other patient was delusional.
That's right. Fever or no, they don't make sense for most of the time. That they, at least once this thing takes hold, or, you know, they have periods of lucidity, but they, you know, and again, I think it has something to do with the fever, of course, but they're not always hot when it happens, and they have trouble sleeping, which of course they need to desperately to recover.
Yes, I wonder if these, well, if perhaps it's not an issue with the lungs that is killing these people, but if it's something that is cerebral, if this disease attacks the brain, perhaps.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's certainly cause for an autopsy. It could be, but it's got to be in the body, and it doesn't seem like anything. They're not showing other neurological indicators. You know, there isn't twitching or spasm or anything.
If it's true,
if the fever gets severe enough, it could cause at least some brain damage. At least that's been observed in rats. So
yes, and so if they all had a high fever, that would be a nice explanation. But it's the facts concerning the patients that are delusional without the presence of fever, and their loss of motor function, their inability to sleep.
Does the fever start before or after the apparent mental effects?
In the patients I've seen, they recognize they're sick first, but again, the first fellow to go was Samuel Eastman, and his wife says he was touched in the head before he had a fever or a cough, but they didn't call me. She was just worried about how he was feeling, mentally.
Huh.
Could everyone spot hidden for me?
Also, I'm sorry to interject, gentlemen, but it's a little. I know it's delusion as you're saying it, but it's a little creepy what they're saying.
Well, that's common with patients. I mean, when they're not lucid. I wouldn't take too much stock of what they're saying, Mrs. Curtis. I passed my spot hidden.
I also passed.
What do I get with a 99?
Oh my! I got oh. We both bombed it.
No, the two of you both turn and bonk heads, Three Stooges style. Around to recover your embarrassment. Those of you who were not interacting cranially, the younger nurse, who's fair and has sort of bright red lip, very striking bright red lips against her fair skin, when you said something about there being a mental component, she like really perked up and is like looking at you while trying not to let the doctor see that she has something she wants to impart.
Miss Haddix, was it?
Sorry, it's Dahlgren who's the
Dahlgren is the
one.
Fair one.
Yeah.
My apologies. And it's probably something I did in character, is said the wrong name. But oh, Delgren, my apologies.
Oh, not at all. Not at all. I mean, we just got here. No offense taken.
What have you noticed about this situation? I mean, you're taking care of these people. Is there anything that any insights you could offer?
And you can see sort of Antle, crosses his arms and turns away a little bit. And Nurse Dahlgren says, I do wonder about how they're feeling, because they all seem very upset. And it's not just like they're worried about the sickness. Most of these people didn't even know that anybody else in town was sick. So it's, they're very upset about something. And, in addition to the cough and the nausea, they also have other sort of injuries. And at that point, Andel sort of clears his throat and says, actually, we've been over this. You will notice, visitors, that some of the patients here have some visible bruising on their skin, which I think is mostly related to them tossing in their sleep before they came to the clinic. And there have been incidences of a damage that appears a bit like frostbite. But you have to remember, this is a rural community. It is deep winter, and it is a common folk practice around here to pack a fevering patient with ice. So some of the families will deny they did such a thing because it's embarrassing when you actually are hurting your husband or child with your folk treatment. But I don't think there's anything more to it than that. It's not like you can catch a disease that gives you frostbite. Miss Dahlgren, I think you need to prepare the afternoon pap for the patients. And he sends her off.
I will follow Miss Dahlgren.
Now, I'm not a medical type, but does it seem like it should be pertinent to discuss with the families the whereabouts of where their family member has been hanging out, and perhaps, like you say, maybe church, maybe see if other people at church are also starting to feel ill.
That's a good idea, Sheriff.
Or at the market, or if they all had apples or something.
Right. I mean, getting to the source. I mean, the initial source of infection. This first gentleman who passed on, where he got infected from, would be quite interesting if we can discover that, and how it's spread to other members of the community. That you might not be a medical professional, Sheriff, but that is exactly what we want to be doing right now.
And I think to some extent I've anticipated that instinct, of course. Certainly the Reverend will have a better idea about who's a regular churchgoer than I do, and that could very well be a factor in this. But as far as Samuel Easton goes, he never left his house after his wife told me he was ill. After the first time I made a house call there, he didn't see anybody, and nobody came to see him. So, presumably there was some person, or who knows, an animal before that, because he wasn't going to church. As soon as he showed a fever, he didn't leave his home until he passed.
Oh, well, I mean, unless there's an animal that bites resemble bruises or frostbite.
And there's not a lot running around this time of year. And that's the other problem in terms of people getting together. Church is about the only place that people do meet up. It's cold. People are holed up.
Well, I can go over and talk to the Reverend. What's his name again?
Let me make that phone call, because he's probably in the rectory, but he could be out seeing people. I'll make sure that he's there to greet you. It's Samuel Jensen. It's the pastor's name.
And now the local congregation, we're not gonna upset anybody by performing autopsies.
This town lost several sons to the Great War. It lost another dozen or more people to the Spanish flu, and it's not as though a lot of people even pass through a place like this. I think even the most superstitious folk in town, I mean, we're not going to advertise, we're not going to invite anybody to watch the autopsies, but if we can prevent other people in this town from getting sick, nobody's going to.
What they don't know ain't going to hurt them. And what you find out might help them.
Well, I just wanted to make sure before we have a crisis on our hands from upset families interfering with what
and
we need to
Dr.
do
Antle's
here.
going to excuse himself to make those phone calls, so it's just you and Nurse Haddix with the patients for a few minutes.
Dr. Lawrence, I can see what I can do about talking to the local mortician and telling him the situation so that he can hide any damage that you might do during your autopsy.
Well,
Yeah, just to clarify, I did follow the other nurse because I wanted to speak to her. So.
Right, so Miss Curtis shuffles off down the hall after Nurse Dahlgren, and she's in the kitchen. There's, she's basically over a vat of chicken broth and oatmeal. And she's a little startled when you follow her into the kitchen, but clearly not unwilling to talk.
Sorry to disturb you. I know you're busy, but
You work for the county?
Yeah, I do.
Oh, that's so neat. That's great.
Which is why I understand how you feel when you're interrupted by someone of the opposite sex. It's a little bit
the doctor's a very educated man, and he's been a big part of my training. I have enormous respect for him, but I swear sometimes he doesn't see what's right in front of his face. If it didn't come out of a book in Latin, he doesn't believe it.
Yeah, which is also why he told us back there his point of view of the mysterious injuries. As I want to hear what you have to say about it. How you think the bruising, or your opinion, is what I want.
Oh, honestly, Ms. Curtis, I just wanted to point it out to you folks because I don't have any idea. It's not, they're not getting a bruise. They're not getting a big, almost weeping bruise on their ribs from tossing and turning in their sleep. And I've seen frostbite cases. We have a lumber mill north of town. I've seen some grievous injuries. These people aren't losing the ends of their fingers and toes, or even a patch on their forearm that's frozen solid. That's not coming from an ice pack. That would require sustained, contact with very cold material, and I, he just won't see it.
Okay, that's what I wanted to. That's what I wanted to hear, because I feel like he was just trying to breeze past the thing because he wants to get it over and done with, and I just wanted to clarify with you because
he wants to find something that you can inject to make this go away, and I don't blame him because this is to lose a few people in a few days in a town this size with no warning, and Abel out there, he's only 14 years old. And he's healthy as a horse. A week ago, he could have pulled a plow with his teeth.
Yeah. Also, just know, how often do they go in bouts of whatever it is? Like, how often do they speak like weirdly, or?
Whenever they sleep, they have nightmares, and sometimes it wakes them up, and sometimes they don't really sleep at all. And sometimes they get so weary, like Abel did. He falls asleep in the middle of the day, and then he talks about a faceless man who wants something from him.
Faceless
gives me the chills.
Yeah, it would also me if I was hearing that. So, do they, just to clarify, do they speak in their sleep as well?
I don't think anybody said anything you could understand, or not more than a word or two. It's mostly they sort of groan and turn.
Well, I won't keep you any longer. I'll let you get back to what you were doing, and thank you. Keep up the hard work. You can.
You know, I got to bring a few patients through the flu. I hope to bring as many patients as I can through this.
Well, behind a strong. Well, some people say behind a strong man is a strong woman. So a stronger woman. So just don't let the. All I will say as a little bit of advice: don't let the doctor get on your nerves too much. And I know it's
I know
more of
he's
a
doing his
male.
best. He's
I
doing his
know
best.
it's a male dominated world out there, but just hold your own. I know you'll make it. You seem like a smart woman.
I try to educate myself. I do.
And then I'll potter back to the rest, and I will fill them in of what she told me about her thoughts on the entrance, just to
So
save time.
the rest of you, Nurse Haddix and you have been in there alone. Anything else you wanted?
I'll ask the Nurse Haddix. Can you show me some of these bruisings?
Nurse Haddix is less forthcoming. But she looks down and she sighs. Then she says, "The worst ones are on Zadok," and she leads you over to the second cot, where there's an older man with a sort of sharp gray beard. He's thin. His eyes are sunken. His cheeks are sunken. His eyes are open, but they're kind of just sort of rolling under heavy lids. His breathing is labored, and she moves a blanket and pulls out his arm, which is thin but muscular. You know, an old sort of farm working, and he's got a series of bruises from thumb to plum size on his upper arm. And there are a couple of bandages on his forearm. And if you peer under them, indeed, there's a wound there that would be consistent with the after condition of necrosis due to something like frostbite or a burn or acid or something. It's not, the dead tissue's gone.
This is quite interesting.
You can certainly roll medicine.
Excellent.
I don't know if you should be touching that.
I'm not.
Oh, okay. Just
thanks for keeping me honest there, Shah. Definitely don't want to catch whatever this is. A 63 is a pass.
The short answer is that there's nothing consistent in your understanding with a bacterium or a virus that could cause symptoms in these correlations.
Yeah.
So either these people are being victimized in some other way, or this is a completely novel illness. But it is definitely, something is going terribly awry with either the treatment or their condition in other sense. Dr. Antle has returned, and he says that the Reverend will be. I spoke to the Reverend's housekeeper, and he is on call, but she's expecting him for lunch, and he'll be able to meet you at the church within a half an hour at the longest.
Excellent. Well, why don't I head on over there, and I'll see if we can come up with any kind of correlation.
Hey, Mrs. Curtis, make yourself useful and show like the county maps that you brought. I hope you brought property records. I want to see.
Oh yeah, of course I do. What kind of county clerk do you take me for? Of course I've got. That's why I want to see that. their records as well, so that I get a better understanding
Okay.
based on
Where
correlating
are
lines.
all these cases? Where do they live? The people that are catching this.
So the green spot is the doctor's clinic.
Okay.
The red spot is the Rutgers house where you'll be staying. So this is the main road through town. This is the road that shoots off north. The church is right over here. It's got an intended cemetery. The rectory is next door. And it's cold enough that, you know, trekking down here and over there, it'd be nicer to be in the truck, although it's not necessary.
Okay, I would like these cases, the people where these people lived.
Right. So yeah, between the nurses and the doctor can lean over, and everybody. It's a small enough town that everybody knows where everybody is. The first case was Samuel Eastman, sorry. And Samuel Eastman's place is over here at the end of this lone drive with just a couple of houses on it, just underneath one of the pine stands that the town makes part of the living from. So that's the Eastman place. And then Claude Tiller lives just a few houses north of the cemetery, up here in the north at the map. And Henrietta Vinson lives at the end of this long lane down here. So they're both pretty close to the cemetery and pretty far from Eastman's place. And then Daniel Madden, who is in the first bed, lives also off of Butcher Road, not far from the cemetery. Sarah Butcher, who's the middle-aged lady in their bed, lives down south of Red Hill. And as you're going over this, Doc Antle sort of rubs his chin and says, "Yeah, they're all on the east side, because Abel Harrington is in one of these little houses, and Zadok Pratt he's off of Hart Road, but only Eastman is in the west half of town. That does suggest something."
Well,
if they were closer to the marsh, I'd think it was something to do with the marsh.
But there's no cases south of Hart Road.
There's not yet been a case south of Hart Road, no.
Yeah, but Dr. Lawrence, do you think germs care what roads are in the way?
Well, I'm not talking about, I know germ, I know of causes symptoms like this. All of these symptoms at once. If there is something, I mean, they mentioned an animal. If there's their location could be, that road could be a factor for other reasons. If they're getting their water from a certain place, certain shared wells.
Well water.
There's other their location in that sense could matter, Sheriff.
And Doc Antle says, yeah, I mean, again, if it were warm season and they were closer to the marsh instead of the other way, I would definitely think there was a stronger case for something biological. And I'll point out, while you've got this map, other places that folks are likely to be together, because there's only a handful. So, you know, there's the church. Just south of the church is the town post office, which is the only other place that everybody goes. The feed store is just off the hook on Hart Road. And the town's only family restaurant is not far from here, just back onto Hart. I don't think of any other public places except for workplaces. Farther north on Butcher, there's a little mill and a blacksmith. But none of the people who are sick are involved in those workplaces.
Is there a local schoolhouse, maybe?
Yeah, the school's farther down past down by the marsh.
Is there a tavern?
Oh, not since Prohibition. You know, honestly, if you ask at the family restaurant, real nice. you can get something. And of course, a couple of the farmers are making something out of corn, but there is not a public tavern. No.
Have you had health problems in this town because due to the marsh before?
No, nothing you'd note. You know,
just...
I mean, any place where there's swampy gases or, you know, biting insects, you might run across something. But this
there
is
could be snow melt coming down the hill.
I bet you'd find the marsh is brick hard right now, except maybe in places where gas comes up. It hasn't.
Right.
We haven't had 5 days above freezing for a month.
I was just curious about your conjecture about the marsh.
Yeah, I mean, it's not pleasant land, but it's not. It's not. We haven't got malaria up here.
Well, can we trace the gentleman who was on the west side? Can we trace any of his recent activities to the east side?
Well,
did he go out to the hills?
As far as I know, as soon as he got sick, he never left his house. But his widow is Anna, works at the post office. You can ask her about it. She had a terrible time with him.
Yeah, we'd want to find out where he was just before he got sick.
Well, I am curious about something though. Has she shown any symptoms?
Anna, the only symptoms Anna's shown is grief. I think she's barely been back to the house. I think she spends a lot of time at the post office after hours because she's so torn up. And
the husband of Mrs. Venson, who passed away, B. Venson.
You know, he did show some shortness of breath, but he hasn't worsened. So I'm keeping an eye on him.
Because if this was some kind of traditional pathogen, you think it would spread to members of the same household.
You'd think.
But that hasn't occurred.
Yeah, only in the Vincent family we even had 2 people in the same household, and little Abel Harrington, he's got like 3 or 4 brothers and sisters. I can't even keep track. They're all fine. No, this is one of the reasons I'm concerned. It doesn't act the way I expect something like this to act. You'd think there'd be somebody who stopped off at the Rutgers, and stayed the night, and then the next day, Mrs. Rutgers sick, and then she goes to the the family restaurant and so on. But it's not like that.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Mrs. Curtis. You can put your map away.
We've got all the good bits to note anyway.
Well, so if I'll go over with the sheriff. Mr. Shaw, you can come with me and help me perform the autopsies. Dr. Antle, you're welcome to join us. As far as Mrs. Curtis and McFarley, if you want to get started hitting up with the family restaurant, the post office, find out if these people have been coming and going, start the tracing that way.
We'll do. A good old-fashioned, right? Luckily, we can take lots of notes, McFarley.
Yes, and get a nice hot cup of coffee over there.
Yep.
Okay, so Doc, you're coming with me?
Yes, we're going over to the church.
Okay.
Doc Antle says that he's very eager to hear the response of your autopsy, but he's actually going to run a couple of house calls on potential other parties rather than attend. But if you could report back after. This time of year, a few people are going to be down with something. There's at least 2 people who I'm concerned about. There might be a couple others that are.
Well, Mr. Shaw, you're studying your degrees in medical research.
Yes. Yeah.
Which would you deem more conducive to the experience that you wish to receive here? Would you rather shadow me with the autopsy, or would you rather accompany Dr. Antle with his house calls? If that's
Well,
all right with you, Doctor.
I think the autopsy is a little bit more my speed. I don't I haven't done much work with people, but a lot of work on rodents.
Well, I mean, if that's, I have no issue if you would like the shadow be
Well,
for the
Dr.
autopsy.
Lawrence, I ain't going to be any help to you during the autopsy. I mean, I can hand you.
Well,
stuff,
I mean, you don't have to. You're just simply driving over there. You don't have to stay.
Well, I'm going to talk to the Reverend, but I'm just saying maybe your Mr. Shaw here can help you out.
All right. Well,
Doc, we will keep you apprised of what was going on.
Good. Yes, I'll be back here at the clinic in an hour and a half or 2 hours, the latest, and we can reconvene. Good luck to all of you. And thanks for coming. You can see, I'm glad you agree that there is cause here for concern.
yes, this is quite peculiar.
Well, all right. So if we're in the car, I'm quite perplexed as to how these people are getting this disease. We ain't got no animals out this time of year. So it ain't rats and it ain't flies or mosquitoes or it ain't bats.
And am I understand that Miss Curtis and Mr. McFarley are going to start at the family restaurant?
Yes.
Is that what you said? Because that's convenient because the sheriff can drop you off pretty much directly on the way to the church.
That's where the wife of the gentleman who died from this.
So the wife works at the post office, but they're almost across the street from each other. They're quite close.
Excellent.
Doc, I didn't get a look at all the patients. Are they all male, or were there some ladies?
No. One of the deceased was female.
Okay.
And one of the people in the clinic right now is Sarah Butcher, 52, is also female.
They seem to be in multiple age brackets. Some old, some young.
Yes, the young man who has it surprises me. As far as those of us who are a little older, it does not come as a surprise that they would be susceptible to such a disease, but the youth of the town being affected to such a degree surprises me.
Well, let's get you over there.
So, Curtis and McFarley, do you want to do the restaurant or the post office first?
Maybe the post office first.
Yeah, good idea. Ask
Because
her.
if we get that out of the way, we can then go to the restaurant, get a nice cup of coffee after we've spoken to one.
Excellent. I like that.
And Nix, Shaw, and Chambers are to the church.
Correct.
Okay. The post office should not be as long, so we'll go there first. There are 2 customers in there, and they're mostly obviously warming themselves up and having some village gossip because it's, there's not a lot to do, and even going a few blocks will chill the hell out of you because it's windy and cold, and the sky is real low, so snow is coming again, and there's plenty already down. So there's a bell, and you enter the post office, and of course the 3 people, there's a woman behind a counter of middle age, there's a man and a woman slightly younger middle age on the public side, and they all turn to look at you with curiosity.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Afternoon, folks.
I'm Jamie Curtis. I'm the county clerk, and this is Brad McFarley of the Minot, whatever the name of it.
Oh yeah, the Minot Daily News. It's a pleasure.
Yeah, we get that paper in town. I think we've got 80 subscribers or more. Says the woman behind the counter. and the customers sort of they greet you, and they sort of bundle over into a corner next to one of those wooden desks where you can arrange your correspondence so that they can pretend vaguely not to be eavesdropping, which they obviously are.
Miss, have you got like a back room or anything we can we just would like to discuss some things.
Is this is about Samuel then?
Yes.
We don't, I can't let you behind the counter, even being county clerk. This is a federal facility. There's all kinds of rules. Jim, Marilyn, you just, go on home. I'll see you later. And the couple, abashedly acknowledges that they were only hiding out to eavesdrop, and they leave. So you have the place to yourselves.
Okay.
Sorry, you said Mrs. Curtis?
Yes.
And Mr. McPhee?
Oh, McFarley, Brad McFarley.
Wow. I heard that they were sending for outside help because whatever got to Samuel's gotten other people. I'm glad you're here.
Yeah, and we're here actually. We're trying to run a track and trace almost kind of thing, and we just want to know. Do you know exactly where the last location Samuel was before he started getting sick?
Well, Samuel, it's hard.
Even the minuscule detail. I know it must be hard. I can't imagine the loss, but just any detail could help us save other people.
Samuel was sick in the head before he got the lung thing for sure. He came back from hunting with Eli on the 1st of the year, kind of late.
Okay.
And
sorry to interrupt, but do you know whereabouts they hunt? Good hunting spot?
Well, they were at Burden, so they were in the woods. They probably went up into the hills.
Okay.
They cover some ground. He came back awful tired. Eli dropped him off, and he didn't sleep good that night, and he didn't really sleep good after that. He started saying things that I couldn't make heads or tails of. And he's a man who keeps himself, and he could always be odd sometimes, but he liked to draw. In the next few days, he filled a notebook with crazy scribbles and drawings, and he didn't make a lot of sense. But he wasn't sick at first. He just wasn't right. And then he started the cough, and then we went fast.
Yeah, I know this. It must have been hard. It must be hard for you right now. It must be very difficult. I can't imagine. But did you say that he started going a bit crazy the night that he came back from hunting?
That's right. That's right.
Oh,
they came back after dark, and it was dead cold and quiet, and he just fell right asleep as usual. But I don't know if he slept through the night. And and the next day he said to me, like it was the most serious thing in the world. He looked at me and he said he was already home, but then he come home. And I asked him who, and he couldn't say. It was the damnedest thing. But I thought he had a fever. I thought, a brain fever. I thought, or he'd catch cold or somehow, or, I'll tell you the truth. I felt his head for lumps. I thought maybe he'd fallen down hunting, and Eli hadn't even noticed. Okay. But he didn't have any lumps. He just didn't make any sense.
Do you know where Eli is now?
Eli's, he could be anywhere. He'll be anywhere Carolyn tells him to be. He might be. He's been he's been toting the dead around since they started dropping. So he might be up at the church. He might be at their place. You know, they live in sin. You know, I've always liked Carolyn, but I think it's and Eli and Samuel were friends forever, but Eli didn't come back from the war quite right, you know. Anyway,
Just two more. I just got two more questions for you. One is, has Eli been acting strange since?
Eli's been acting strange since he came back from the Great War.
Okay, so
he's the only one of the boys in town who came back from the Great War, and he's got some metal in his chest. Like, he didn't come back whole. He and Samuel were the best of friends for the longest time, and they didn't quite get on since he came back. But you know, there's almost like brothers.
Okay. And my second one is, if you can get it for us, could I see Samuel's notebook that he was?
Oh, the sketchbook?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't have it here. Good Lord. I'll tell you, if you want to look at it, it's in the parlor at the house. The door's unlocked. You can go right there and look at it. I don't really want to see the thing.
Okay. It's more of a curiosity, to be fair. It's not really to do with our investigation, but it could help at least us understand, and the doctors understand, more of his mental state, and it might help.
Yeah. I don't know what that would have to do with people getting lung sick, but you're welcome to it. You could take the thing. It just reminds me of what a state he was in for the end. You know, he was a good man. Everything just fell apart.
I'm sorry for your loss.
Very sorry.
And I'm sorry for taking up your time. We'll leave you to it, and yeah.
You good luck. You take care of yourselves and help folks in this town out, because it feels like the place is just falling apart around us.
We'll do our best. Yeah. When we get outside, I will, because we're in the cold, we'll be freezing. I'll try to keep it brief to McFarley, but I think a big step here is speaking to Eli.
Oh yeah.
The thing is, if he wasn't already right in the head, maybe they wouldn't notice if he was getting symptoms. But then if he didn't get symptoms, but he was out with Samuel all day, why didn't he get anything, but Samuel did?
But maybe we could at least ask him questions, see where they went, what they did. Maybe they hunted a rabbit and he ate it, and
True. Yeah.
Eli didn't. It might have been infected. Who knows?
But then how did it pass on to others?
If the family restaurant is just across the street, and you guys can hustle through the blowing snow and warm yourselves, and we'll move on to the church. When the wagon pulls up, the Reverend leaves the rectory, which is just south of the church, and comes out to meet you. He's got a heavy wool coat on and a muffler, and he sort of pulls his hand out of the muffler and waves to you, and just opens up the door to the church and beckons you. He's not going to shake hands outside.
Reverend Jensen, thank you for seeing us. This here is Dr. Lawrence Chambers and Mr.
Welcome.
Justin Shaw.
Welcome to y'all. Good to see you, Sheriff. Come on inside. I'll turn the boiler up in a minute so we can thaw off. It looks like the week's gonna just be as nasty as before.
Indeed. So we have a delicate matter to discuss with you. The doctor and Mr. Shaw here are from the county seat. Dr. Antle sent for them.
Oh, I understand. I haven't had to house so many bodies I can remember all at once without there being an accident in the mail or something.
Well, you can appreciate that we don't want to cause any kind of panic. Miss Dr. Lawrence here, Dr. Chambers here is trying to ascertain the nature of this infection, and he is going to need to take a look at the bodies and possibly invasively. We don't want that to.
We will be performing autopsies. It's not a maybe.
Well, we don't want to upset the families, but as we figure, our mortician friend can fix them up so that the family doesn't really have to know. But it's very important that we find out what's causing this disease.
Well, Sheriff, I don't think we have to worry that much about the families, because by the time the ground here is soft enough to bury any of these folks, we're probably going to be in closed caskets anyway. It's not an easy thing to die up here in the darker winter.
So the churchyard doesn't have any cold tombs for storing the bodies.
No, there's there's scarcely a family wealthy enough to bury above ground around here. No, we just stack them up like cordwood until we have a good thaw, and then we bury them all at once.
Wow.
As a rule, it's something. There's there's not a community that puts on much airs. We all live pretty close to the earth. So I don't think we need to worry about delicate sensibilities for the most part.
Well, could you show us where the bodies are, and then I'd like to talk to you about if there's all members of the congregation. We're trying to find places where they may have cross-contaminated one another.
Yeah. Yes. Of course. I'll show you where the deceased are resident, and I'll warm the place up a little bit, and I'll put on some coffee so we can discuss things once you've done your difficult business.
That would be very pleasant. Thank you.
There's a room and a foyer, and then a door, and down a increasingly cold flight of stairs into a stone cellar that's long and narrow and pretty chilly. There's a boiler at one end, but it's only going to heat right around it because the pipes are all upstairs. And there's only a couple of light bulbs, which might be the biggest problem you have. It's basically a storage space. So there's a couple of swinging lights, and there are 3 bodies under white sheets on tables. They're simple wooden tables. And it's probably about 45 degrees down here. So you certainly see your breath. And you can tell the Reverend doesn't love being amongst the deceased, but he sort of, indicates, that's Eastman, and that's Tiller, and that's Ms. Vinson. I guess, God, you'll probably need some buckets and things. I don't know what you need.
Oh, well. Trays, things to anything that can hold organs.
Okay, I think I don't know what we have except for buckets, honestly. I mean,
I think we can call over to the general store. They probably have some pickle buckets.
We have wash buckets and things, but I don't know what would be like a tray that wouldn't be something that has sacred uses here.
Right, I would not want wish that. Well, the buckets will work. I don't have any.
Well, we'll
The
get
Reverend Jensen looks distracted.
You, Reverend.
Does anybody have much in the way of psychology?
I have a little bit.
See what you can do.
I actually have some too.
Just a 16. That is a regular pass.
I got a 33 out of 35. So yes, I also got a regular.
A 16 out of 20. Look at us.
Look at you observant types.
Is he a rat?
No, he's
I could probably psychoanalyze him if he's a rat.
This basement is like a maze.
Pellets. Where are the pellets?
Yeah, the Reverend's attention is elsewhere, you realize. And while you're interested in attending to the business at hand and also getting him to be of use, you see him sort of wander over to a wall not far from the corpses. And he reaches toward the wall, and then he sort of catches himself and looks at you furtively. Furtively. Looks at you in distress and self-consciousness. And you can see that there's damp and mildew, like a significant patch on the wall of the church cellar. Like there could be structural damage. It's so out of order.
Is that what he was walking towards?
Yeah.
Huh.
And he says, gracious gentlemen, forgive me. Yes, I'll send someone down with some. I have a folding table that will be helpful. I have some old linens that you can cover things with. I'll send some buckets, and forgive the state of things down here. I don't.
It's all right,
I assure
Reverend.
you, things like this are.
I'll accompany you. Make some of that coffee. I'm not very comfortable with the dead people either, especially in my basement. So,
Very well.
We'll leave
Thanks,
you to
Sheriff.
it. We'll make sure that we get those buckets and everything to you ASAP.
Very well.
Which is French for as soon as possible.
Did the sheriff just say that he had dead people in his basement?
Yeah. Well,
must be stress. Yeah. Do you have a beaker or something? I think I might scrape some of that mold and see what that is.
Yeah, that's.
And you guys both have, you have kits that you brought in preparation for doing the sciences that you intended to do. So no shortage of leather bags, sharp implements, beakers, gauze, stoppers.
Yep. Yeah, here you go, Mr. Shaw. Go take a sample of that.
Yeah.
The stuff the stuff that's loose on the wall. First of all, it's not quite a dry stone foundation. There is some mortar, but it's very much natural fitted stones. It's not blocks or anything. And the general condition seems very orderly and tidy. This area, it seems like stones could slide out on this slimy decay that's happening. And there are filaments of like a damp fungal growth that you can scrape off. It's not,
okay.
It's something that obviously is comfortable in the cold.
Are there like fireplace tongs or something for use with the boiler?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. After I'm done sampling the mold, I'll grab those and see if any of the stones up kind of near the top of it will actually slide out.
Yeah.
Are they solid?
They it feels like when sedimentary rock gets damp enough to become more frangible than otherwise would be. And if you start tugging, you'll be able to get things to crumble and shift pretty readily.
Well, I'm not going to cause a structural issue. So.
All right. Yeah, but that is the condition.
I have a question.
Please.
Everything east of the main road, is it a gradient? Is
The
it
whole
hills?
town tends to higher altitude in the east and lower in the west.
Okay, so it's all sort of going towards the marsh.
Yes.
If you would.
Yeah. The marsh, but not only the marsh. You know, the north is also, the stream goes through the north,
right?
So it's less marshy because it's draining.
Okay.
But there's hills on the east side and lowlands on the west.
So in the church basement, is the side with this damage on the higher side?
It is.
It would be deeper underground.
Yeah, it is.
Okay. This could just be water seeping from.
Yeah. Why don't you choose what corpse you want to start with, and then we'll move upstairs.
What an exciting proposition. We'll start with the first one.
Okay. So
going from right to left or left to right, and your right or my right?
Chronologically, who died first?
Okay.
First. So that would be my left to my right.
Right.
Right. Okay, so you uncover the corpse of Samuel Eastman. He's maybe late 40s. Looks like a man who worked out of doors. And he's dead cold. And externally, I mean, there's a fair degree of lividity and so on. He's been deceased for a bit. Roll for medicine as you open him up.
All right, so Mr. Shaw, you see your initial incisions that you want to make. First of all, I just a regular pass.
Okay.
I don't assist.
And I assume, Doctor, that you're going a little bit. You're going to start light. You're hoping to get a table and some buckets and things.
Yes.
So you don't just want to.
We're not going to start carving in and extracting everything out.
It's disturbing from the outset. Mr. Eastman. Mr. Eastman either had a protracted illness that's quite complicated, or he should have been in a circus his whole life. Without opening up the chest cavity, because you're just going to start with the guts because it's easier. Things are twisted. They're peculiarly colored. His organs are weird. His organs are not even immediately recognizable. Imagine that his intestines had both mutated and had volition, and they'd moved around, and then his organs, kidneys, livers, etc., had shrunk or shifted or bent. There are colors here that are unfamiliar. It's our first SAN roll.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I'm like this.
I'm starting to think that all those anatomy drawings I saw were grossly inaccurate.
No. Those drawings are perfectly accurate. This is
Is that fuchsia?
I don't know what the hell to make of this. This is I failed miserably on my
Okay.
SAN roll.
Just a 1d4.
Oh, only 1 point.
All right.
Got off a little
Dr.
easy.
Lawrence runs screaming from the building.
We gotta get out of here.
Now,
It's nice and cold. You don't
This-
smell anything. You just went.
this is an important question. Did you want me to roll the sanity as well?
Let's play it like this. Roll an idea to
Okay.
see whether you recognize how upset he is, and if you recognize how upset he is,
Okay.
then you should roll SAN.
Because I did roll SAN, and I'm going to hold on to that number. Intelligence. Okay, that's a pass.
Okay, then that SAN roll counts.
All right. That's 100.
Wow, that's really
1d4 you said?
1d4 plus 1, and
Okay.
we'll see.
3.
3. Okay.
Yes.
So it's 3 plus 1.
Yes,
that's-
3 plus 1. Yeah.
Okay, so you take 4, and you just stop yourself from touching it. You're like, it's so wrong. You see him look, and it's so wrong, and you're like, and then you.
Mr. Shaw.
I'm pretty sure fuchsia's not supposed to be there. That's a weird color.
That is, you are absolutely correct. This pink and almost this turquoise, dare I say, in here. This is.
Did either of you bring any sterilizing liquor for just such an occasion?
Oh, of course.
I recommend a belt, and we'll go upstairs to the sheriff and the reverend.
Okay.
So the reverend, he's obviously unhappy with circumstances in town, and he's trying to put the best face on it. Do you want to make any specific questions?
Well, I'm sure that everything's going to be just fine. These are intelligent individuals. They'll figure out what's going on here. It's probably something on the lines of a disease. Hopefully, something as simple as a flu or the pneumonia or something like that, and not cholera or the Black Death.
Well, Sheriff, I certainly hope it won't be that extreme. It's in a community of this size, every loss is felt.
Of course.
Between the flu and the war, I would be grateful to see a period of peace, and there is something alarming about what's in this town right now. I feel like it's not. I feel like it's something heavier than a nasty cold season. Anyway, I'm going to see if I can get Eli to move some things downstairs. The coffee's boiling there. It'll be just a minute.
All right, I'll take care of the coffee, and you take care of yourself. It's you have a lot of burden on you as pastor of this town.
The Dr. Antler and I are in many ways responsible for all these families and good folks, but it's usually a beautiful place to live, and they're lovely people. It's usually not a burden. It's usually an honor. I'll be right back, Sheriff.
All right.
And indeed, it's only a few minutes before he comes back with a handsome, sort of ruddy-cheeked fellow in his mid-20s, who's got a pretty light sort of corduroy jacket on. He's rubbing his hands together, and and they're, you know, you can hear them muttering as they come in and close the door and stuff. And they know that there's some stuff in storage that he can take downstairs to help the
Okay.
people. So that gets arranged. And indeed, as you guys are discussing the precise, is that a hunter's green? A hunter's green in the intestine? What the hell is that? A fellow comes downstairs and he's got 2 folding tables under his arms and some other stuff thrown over his shoulder. And he comes up and I invite you both to do psychology rolls again. Actually, Sheriff, you should too.
Okay.
Well, that is nowhere near a pass. I'm a little distracted.
Yep. I'm pretty sure that's a forest green. Hunter green is a little bit more brown.
I would have to spend 14 points of luck to pass.
You won't need, you know, that's
right.
not, this is not the time for that.
All right.
So the fellow, you know, he's like sort of, you know, clatters a little bit with stuff, and he looks from one of you to the other, kind of affectless, and he asks you, you know, where you want the tables, and
Let's set these up.
Oh,
over
right
here.
there is fine.
and I know there's a few buckets I'll get for you. I heard you want buckets. Is there anything else?
No, the buckets will suffice. Thank you.
Please, Shaw and Chambers, I'd like also a spot hidden roll, but I'd like a hard success.
Well, an 05 is an extreme success.
It's the damnedest thing. The kid isn't wearing very much, and he obviously was just outside or an outbuilding, but you can't see his breath. It's 45 degrees down here, and you've got a fair plume coming out. Not this kid. And he turns around and trucks back upstairs.
Oh, I'm sorry. Hold on, just 1 minute.
Oh yeah.
I'm sorry. What is your name?
Hutchins, Eli Hutchins.
Eli Hutchins. Tell me, Eli, have you been feeling, I don't know, anything out of the ordinary lately?
Not me. There's a fiddle. Never felt better. That's nothing. I've got a little bit of German metal right here that makes me, but you know, it's the same all the time. It doesn't bother me a bit.
Well, Eli, this here is a Dr. Lawrence. Maybe he'd like to take a look at you.
Well, if you'd like, we can arrange that sometime. I mean, I see Doc Antle all the time, and you know, I live with Carolyn, so if anything was wrong with me, they'd know it right away.
Do you have any dryness in your throat or your lungs? Dry coughing? Do you feel phlegm with your cough?
You know, it sounds like a wet cough because the doctors told me. There's what did they say? They said loose tissue inside my lung from where the shrapnel lies. So it sounds very phlegmy, but I don't expectorate any. And it's not a shortness of breath. It's just you know, it's a damage. But I live with it just fine. I can run up Camphor Hill and run back down in a minute. It doesn't get in my way any.
Oh, have you been in contact with any of the sick folk around here?
Only the bodies.
So
Not when
this
it was
this
alive.
coughing is nothing new then.
No, I've had this since I got out of the hospital in France. I'm gonna go get them buckets now. I'll be
All
right
right.
back.
And gentlemen, here's some coffee for you.
Oh, thank you.
Holy shit. Is that
Yeah.
what the inside of a body looks like?
Well, no,
Apparently not.
not even close.
Ooh-wee. Disgusting. Sorry. No offense to the dead folks.
Well, it's pretty damn disgusting.
I doubt he would. I
There's
doubt he would
no
mind.
there's no infection or virus or bacterium that would, or fungus or nothing. What would do this to someone?
Looks quite disordered.
I am baffled. This is wrong. He's like these kidneys, for instance, should not be this color. And they're small and they're kind of hardened a little bit. This liver is shriveled and misshapen in the wrong place. These intestines aren't stacked correctly here. This is it's like something has rearranged this man.
Now, how do you wish to proceed?
Well,
You've got some materials now.
going in through the rib cage, I want to see if they're how the extent that this damage spreads, and then I want to take a look at their brain. We're gonna go check everything. This is, to what extent has this malady, I don't know what else to call it, how far does it go in the body?
All right, Mr. McFarlane and Ms. Curtis, you've gotten warmed up at the family restaurant. How do you wish to proceed?
Well, do we know who any of the relations there would be for Tiller or Benson? That's what we're here for. Or if we don't know who they would be, we could ask, is there a waiter or waitress at the counter?
Yeah, there's a cook and one waitress, and they're local, and it's Francis and Doreen. Francis's brother actually is Francis is a Rutger, and so is the place you're staying at. So these people are the public face of the town.
Oh, wonderful, wonderful, and tipping them well for a cup of coffee and a nice, little something like a burger or what have you. We're from the county. This is Jamie Curtis, county clerk, and I'm assisting the team. You might have heard that we've been sent here to help try to get a handle on the illnesses that's going around.
I understand. You're both mighty welcome. Welcome.
Thank you so much. We're trying to gather some information on poor Tiller and Benson, that
Yep.
where they might have gone or been doing prior to their illness. This would be most paramount in getting a good handle on what's going on here.
I tell you, this time of year, half the folks do nothing but chop wood and sit in front of their stove. There's no, there's nothing to harvest. There's nothing to till. There's nothing to plant. There's a handful of folk who will come down here every morning just to say hi to do and have a cup of coffee. Yeah, because otherwise they won't see nobody. I don't know. Harriet Vinson. She was very much a homebody. I don't think I've seen her outside of a big church holiday or the summer fete. She doesn't ever come down here. She loves her own coffee. Claude Tiller, have I seen him since the new year? Probably once or twice. He was a bit of a taciturn fella, you know. He's been a widower for a while, so I don't know. I don't know if he stopped by or not. But thing is, yeah, we're not. It's not a time for congregating.
Might you know of anyone that might know them a little bit better? Maybe what they might have done just a day or two before they were taken ill.
I mean, you could go by the Vincent Place and ask her husband or the widower. Uh, I don't think anybody had a handle on Claude Tiller much.
Yeah.
But Mr. Vincent might be able to tell you if they'd had a visitor or some such.
And where might their residence be? Was that nearby or?
Well, in this cold, I wouldn't want to hoof it if I were you. You know, if you go on past the church, past the cemetery, take the narrow lane to the right and go up a bit, and then take another right, and you'll be going uphill toward Camphor. You know, the name will be on the mailbox, but I wouldn't walk uphill in this wind.
Okay, maybe we'll meet back with the others then. Well, Jamie, did you have any questions? Any thoughts?
Covered. Obviously, our main concern really is also to find Eli, but that's who I definitely want to follow up on.
Well, your colleagues are, you know them to be at the church, which is just up the hill. It's probably about equidistant to go back to the clinic. Either one's going to be a little bit of a chilly march. But, you know, you can't stay at the restaurant all day. In fact, they probably close between lunch and dinner.
Yeah.
Although they'd let you sit.
Well, we're warmed up with the coffee and the burger. Maybe we'll just quickly huff it over.
I'll have written while we've been sat here and after we've spoken, I'll have started writing out some notes and like started the start of a proper official document, like at least the note form of it before I then type it or sort it out when I'm in an actual office. Sorting out my reports.
So you could ask them where Eli lives. You could go to the post office lady's home to look at the strange sketchbook. You could go to the church. You could go to the clinic.
Yeah, we should probably take a quick look at the sketchbook and then swing by Eli's place.
Yeah. So I'll walk up to the counter and just, sorry to bother you. Do you know where I don't know his last name, but an Eli lives?
And this, you get the waitress, and she's like, "Well, everyone knows where Eli lives. Eli lives at Carolyn's house, even though they're not married. It's really the most scandalous thing in town. And we all love Carolyn. And, you know, Eli hasn't been the same since the war, so we don't talk about it much, but it's really quite something. You know, it's really not. But you must have met Carolyn already. Right? Weren't you at the clinic?
Yeah.
Well, Carolyn Dahlgren. Eli Hutchins lives with Carolyn Dahlgren.
Oh.
They've always been sweethearts.
The nurse. Okay, yes.
Why did I never ask that? I did not realize they were the same person.
So anyway, the Dahlgren place is, if you go on up Hart Road, and you don't turn off at the clinic, but you go a few doors down, that's where Carolyn and Eli live, and Carolyn's mom, God bless her.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah,
for
thank you
that.
so much.
Okay, and I leave them a good tip, a very good tip.
Definitely. All right.
All right, back to the church.
Jog off.
As Dr. Chambers proceeds to get out the heavier implements and open up poor Samuel Eastman's chest, the only thing that would make sense is to find that his lungs were full of fluid. They're not. They are shaped like they were partially cauliflower, though. Nothing inside is right.
Are the bones right?
The bones are only a little weird. But they're not quite as they should be. If you imagine somebody smudging an image, that those parts shifted less than the softer bits, but the softer bits shifted a lot. And you can also see that some of the bruises that are visible on the outside of the corpse really extend inward. If you think of sort of a rotten orange, there's like that blush on the surface, and then inside it blossoms into disorder.
Sure as hell ain't frostbite.
No.
This is tossing in his slate.
What do you think
Dr.
it is, Doc?
Antle was...
Looks like something's been crawling around inside of him.
But not really. I don't see...
It looks like he's been crawling around inside of him.
Yeah. It's not like a creature or a parasite. This would be like somebody has come in and...
Does it look like the bruise...
I don't know.
Goes inside out or outside in?
Like maybe the movement of the things caused the bruising on the skin?
It seems of a piece. It doesn't look like something poked it and then that rot went inside. It also doesn't look like there was a seed that then developed. It just seems like there are channels of disorder and decay that appear here and there. And when you take the saw out, Dr. Chambers, and look inside the skull, it's not as bad as the organs. There are anomalies, but nothing in the examination of the inside of Mr. Eastman's skull suggests that the origin of this was in his skull. It seems like it too was touched by this force, this disorder.
Oh my.
Did Mr. Eastman have any shrapnel in his body?
No.
I was wondering if...
Find.
We haven't seen anything. It didn't look like there were any wounds that would have...
And Mr. Eastman is of an age that would not suggest he was compelled to be in the Great War.
I have a feeling for the sake of time, we'll probably skip ahead and we will dissect the female victim, see if there's any substantial differences. I suspect we're going to likely find a similar disarrangement.
Yeah, indeed. Harriet is in much the same shape. The most notable thing in this regard is that they are not their conditions are very similar, but they are not identical. So it's not as though, again, it didn't start in the kidney and then branch out, and they both have disorders of the kidney and a bruising thereof. The injuries, the occlusions are, I don't want to say random, but they're scattered and they're not identical.
So I mean, so where one's liver might be misshapen and purple, the other one's liver is moved and squished in a different way and is a different color, and
yeah, everything's twisted and wrong, but they're not
in a different
following
way.
a pattern. That's exactly right.
Okay, well, I don't think.
Can you determine, Doctor?
I'm not sure what else we're going to learn by dissecting this third individual.
Can I have a luck roll from both of you, from both Mr. Shaw and Mr. Lawrence?
I was wondering.
Dr. Chambers?
Okay, 28's a pass.
I passed.
Good. All right, then.
I have a feeling I know what that's for, but
like if you knew my luck skill, you would know the significance of that.
Or luck impaired, yeah.
Yeah.
But, Sheriff, you had a question?
I was just going to say, do you think it was this disordering that killed him?
Well, I don't know what killed them. I so quickly. As this would. So here's if this is what killed them, Sheriff. The symptoms don't add up. If your guts were being actively rearranged, your kidneys shrunk and shriveled, and your liver moved, you'd be in a lot more pain, a lot more discomfort, and
is the nervous tissue also warped?
Kind of the brain's not as warped as everything else, which is
yeah, but like the spinal cord.
I think at this any further information, my plan is now, as much as I hate to say it, is to go back to the clinic with a stethoscope and listen at those bruises.
Yeah. And to answer the sheriff's question on your behalf, yeah, there would be a lot of pain involved. The coughing is not a sufficient indicator, and these bodies were obviously, you couldn't live with this body very long. You know, there's things are disordered enough that whatever the initial impulse of this, by time that they are in the church basement, that is not a viable organism.
All right.
Yeah, this would have, I mean, anything like this, you couldn't survive it.
All right. Do we want to visit the clerk and the newspaperman before we get back to the clinic?
Yeah, good idea.
And how are people feeling about the time?
Could we take a short break, though?
Sure.
Like 5 minutes.
Everyone, 4 minutes?
5 minute pee break.
Yeah.
5 minutes later.
So the journalist and the clerk are braving increasingly nasty wind. It's blowing in from the west. It's hard to tell whether it's snowing or whether just the snow that's around is pelting your face. And you're at the edge of a half-cleared road, going mostly downhill, looking for the mailbox that says Dahlgren. And it isn't that far on foot, but it starts to feel like you're gonna slump over into the snowy ditch before you see the EN, and you elbow some snow off the mailbox, and it's Dahlgren. And there's a formerly handsome house that's a little bit run down, and it's got one light on upstairs, and you're gonna have to, plow through 2 feet of snow to get to the porch.
I just not wasting time, going straight ahead.
Yeah, same. Oh, God damn.
If there's a bell, you can't see it, and there's no answer to a knock.
The light's on now, isn't it? Brad, yeah? You can see that light, right?
Yeah, we're not noticing any lights on anywhere. Or
You can't see the light upstairs when you're on the porch because there's a porch, but you saw it as
Yeah.
you were shuffling up. It's a warm light. It's obviously not
all right,
a reflection.
so just bang a little harder on the door.
You're not going to get an answer.
Hmm. Well, there's got to be someone in who would.
Is the door unlocked?
Do you try the knob?
Yeah, I'll try the knob.
Swings right open, blowing snow in.
Okay,
we'll
just shout, Brad. Just shout.
Yeah.
Something.
Carolyn, or is anyone home? Hello?
Eli?
Can't really hear anything except wind coming in the door.
All right, here, we'll just step in real quick. I mean, we're not going to intrude other than just getting out of the deathly cold.
Yeah, as long as we don't. And obviously, I've got that door open. He'll be fine.
Yeah, we'll step in and close the door behind us and just yell out, hey, Eli, are you home?
Eli?
The house is not that warm, but it's not terrible. Maybe it's in the low 60s. It's dusty and it's dim. And as you stand there, like trying to shake the snow off you on the not very tidy carpet in front of the front door, and you look around, the house is kind of a mess. Nothing's been cleaned or repaired in any meaningful way. It's not abandoned. It's obviously been in use. There's probably, if you were to sneak around, there's probably warm coals in the living room. Nobody responds to your first few calls.
Brad, I don't feel comfortable if we poke around. If no one's answering, but I swear we saw a light on, and
we have no legal rights, coming in here. We wanted to talk. We just stepped in because it's so freaking cold. We don't,
Brad, maybe just don't open any doors unnecessary, but maybe at least see whether lights on. Because if someone is in, and because we know that Eli was in the war. What
I'll
if he's
sneak in? I'm a snoopy reporter. I'll just snoop in just a little bit and check to see. Very quiet as I can be.
I'll wait by the door though, because I shouldn't really be breaking any laws, and I'll just deny.
Sneak, stealthy sneak.
You don't need a sneak roll because you're the wind itself is making a fair amount of noise, rattling the old building. If you move away from the front door into the first large room, it's a living room. It's a front living room. So there's windows that look onto the porch. There's windows that go off to the side. There's a couch. There's a table. There's a fireplace that is a little warm. There's a lot of junk around. And so I think a spot hidden would be a reasonable start.
Certainly. Okay, 46, and my spot hidden is pretty good, I think. Spot hidden's a 60, so that's a pass.
So, the overall senses of disorder, like whoever is living here is not taking good care of everything. There are several items arranged around the fireplace that strike you as unusual, but they don't signify to you in any obvious way. There's something that's like a blob of glass. There's a metal tray that has ashes in it that are dark in color. And as you sort of turn around in curious discomfort, like there's a lot of papers on a low table in front of the sagging couch. And at a glance, would you roll sanity, please?
So, 03. That's an outstanding pass.
Thank God I'm by the door.
You see there's paper that's old and paper that's new, and there is strange drawings and symbols and sort of diagrams that are disquieting. Some of the paper's quite old, but there are lots of other notes that are current and in a feminine hand. And there's a sort of notebook or diary that has a very worn piece of paper sticking out of it, which is the first thing that you see that you can easily read.
Dear Mr. and Mrs. Hutchins, it is with regret that I write to you to share my unreserved condolences at the decease of your son, PFC Eli, oh my God, PFC Eli Monty Hutchins, number 433571, American Expeditionary Forces. During an enemy offensive and amidst heavy shelling, your son ventured into no man's land to rescue a beleaguered squadron. Regrettably, he lost his life, defending his fellow soldiers to the last and saving several lives. As his commanding officer, I know that he spoke often and with affection of both you and his fiancée waiting back home. Though we mourn him alongside you, I trust that you find some small measure of comfort that he at all times comported himself honorably, and that the cause for which he gave his life is just. You have my deepest sympathies and condolences in your loss. Yours faithfully, Matthew Hedforth, First Lieutenant Matthew Hedforth, from the offices of Major General CAF Flagler, Commander of the 42nd Division, and General John J. Pershing, Commander of the American Expeditionary Forces. My God. Eli, this must be some sort of mistake. Jamie, this makes no sense.
What's going on?
This letter, this Eli, he was killed in the war. It says right here, this is not some joke. Look, there's the official stamp right here.
Oh, what?
So, I laid that letter out next to the other couple of pages with the bizarre symbols, and I'm definitely, the reporter's getting the edge on me here. I need to take a picture of this.
Jamie, would you please roll to listen?
Yeah. But Brad, what? This is unusual, but why are you snooping? I said to just go upstairs to see the light on, not look through every document.
Well, it was sitting right there.
Yeah, that's a regular pass.
So you hear a frail voice that querulously says, Carolyn, is that you?
Brad, can you hear that?
Can I? Let me see if I can hear that. I cannot hear that, apparently. I'm like, this is taking a picture of this. This is.
Brad,
Carolyn, it's cold.
Brad, I hear an old woman's voice, or man, I don't know. It's a frail voice of some kind.
That makes no sense. This is Carolyn's and Eli's, isn't it? There was no one else living here, was there?
Well,
Maybe it's Eli. Maybe he's home and he's not feeling well. Oh, Eli. That must be Eli. Let's press on like we just got here looking for Eli.
okay, well, they seem to be shouting out, so maybe if we go up there and see if we're okay, they could be heard. I don't know. It could be...
Eli, is that you? Okay.
Hello?
So I'll start kind of going up the stairs slowly,
I will
looking up.
follow.
Eli?
I will follow behind a little more cautiously.
The stairs are dark, dusty, creaky. There's a landing, and you stop and you listen. And there, if you hear anything that's not the winter wind, it's just.
Well, we'll head towards that. Someone's in trouble. Jamie.
Brad, who was... You know that letter, who was it signed to? Who was it sent to? His family?
It was sent to, who was it sent to?
It was sent to the Hutchins family.
Yeah, the Hutchins family.
This is not the Hutchins house.
Maybe his mother or father live here. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe.
When you reach the top of the stairs, the cold snow light through the windows illuminates moldering carpet. And one door down to your right, there's a figure in a shawl and a blanket and one of those old wicker wheelchairs, but it's sort of broken. And there's a very gaunt figure in it who's probably female. And she's leaning out and staring at you with, glinting eyes and says, "You're not Carolyn."
Oh, we're here looking for Carolyn and Eli when we heard you call out.
Eli's not here. Eli's not here. It's a mask.
It's a mask, like someone's pretending to be Eli.
Brad, I don't think we should be here. I don't feel
Yeah. Okay.
Can we I feel a little... I also feel a little mean leaving this frail woman, but I just do not feel comfortable being here right now.
Can we help you get back to your bed, or can we get you a cup of tea from the kitchen?
Only Carolyn can help.
Only Carolyn. Okay.
Only Carolyn can help.
Okay, we need to get Carolyn. We need to get... Okay, we'll get Carolyn for you.
Yeah, okay, Brad. Yeah, we'll be back with Carolyn. Let's get out of here quickly,
Yeah.
Brad. I don't
Okay.
feel...
So we'll just back down the stairs quietly. Yeah.
Brad, what the hell?
I don't know. I mean, like Eli's not Eli. Eli's something else wearing a mask.
So this we'll probably have exited the house at this point, trying to. But Brad,
anything before you leave the house?
Well, these were mighty peculiar, bizarre things written all around the fireplace. I got a picture of those, but on the way out, I looked to the other side of the hallway or the room. Is there anything bizarre in there, or that catches the eye?
The other, from the foyer, like the living room was on the right side. The other side is a dusty, disused dining room, and you can see a kitchen. There's nothing. The general disorder is significant, but no other specific kinds of weirdness leap out at you.
Yeah, this is bizarre, but I mean, I'm not going to take anything that's stealing, and they've done nothing wrong, but it's very bizarre. I've got a picture. Let's go. Let's get back to see if we can find Carolyn. This poor person's and suffering.
Brad, so we know that all the people who have been ill have been rambling and raving. And now she's saying that Eli isn't Eli, I guess?
Yeah, it sounds like she might be contracting whatever this disease is. She's rambling and not making sense.
This is kind of making me want to see that sketchbook a little more. Also, I just don't want to be here at the minute.
Can we get to the sketchbook house on the way back to the clinic to get Carolyn?
We will bend space-time to make that possible, but first we're going to revisit our friends at the church.
We time travel.
So we have 2 autopsies relatively complete. You're probably a little annoyed you didn't let Brad bring his camera, because you're going to need to document this weirdness at some point, Dr. Chambers. What are your other thoughts, concerns, or intentions?
I need to do a medical examination on that kid. Eli, I think his name was.
The Abel at the clinic? Oh, Eli, the young man.
Yes, before we leave here. Then we need to go back to the clinic because something might be actively rearranging their organs, and that's a problem I would like to follow up with. But that's, I mean, this strange, he's coughing, he's been in contact with the bodies. I mean, there wasn't any moisture coming out of his lungs. It's just bizarre. Like, I just want to...
Right. So, so you go upstairs and you ask the Reverend if you can also examine Eli, because Eli had done his couple of rounds taking things in and out. And the Reverend says, "Oh, Eli hurried off. He often does. Probably Carolyn called him."
Oh, Carolyn. Who's Carolyn?
Oh, I hate. Normally, I would not permit. Normally, I would not be willing to make a dispensation for such an arrangement. But Carolyn and Eli have been living together as if they were wed since Eli returned from the war. The lad has not been himself, and Carolyn is so devoted to her work. I try to encourage them, but neither of them are really are part of my flock.
I see. Where can I find Carolyn?
She'll be at the clinic.
The clinic?
Yes, Nurse Carolyn Dahlgren.
Right.
She's almost always there.
That's well. Thank you, Reverend.
We're finished downstairs with your work?
Our initial...
For the time being, I understand. For the
time being is complete.
I hope your investigation was helpful.
Something like that. Fruitful, yes, fruitful. It was very fruitful.
Are you a faithful man, Dr. Chambers?
I used to be.
I understand. Well, I'll pray for you just the same.
But thank you, Reverend.
All right. We'll do a quick run to the Eastman house with our housebreakers, and then everybody can run to the clinic to see what's afoot.
This is very bizarre, Jamie. I mean, the writing on those weird pages, I got pictures of them, but it looked, I don't know, I'm wondering if it's in the nurse's hand. She's into some really weird shit. Looked really crazy. Plus the letter. It's Eli's dead. It's official letter from the Department of Defense, from the War Department.
Yeah, it's definitely official. But that means if she knows that he's dead, then she knows more about she knows more than what's happening than she's letting on, and she is definitely our prime person to speak to, but
I'm wondering if what those weird pages were with her notes on them. I wonder if they're concocting something that might be getting people sick. Maybe she's not doing it on purpose, but maybe it's a byproduct. Something's weird. We need Dr. Chambers and Shaw to look at this and see what they make of it.
Now, you were invited to enter the Eastman home, so you don't have to feel like you're breaking and entering.
Oh, good.
Your feet are like ice blocks when you get there. It's downhill. The wind is not stopped. There's definitely new snow falling, and the Eastman home is not warm. It's probably being kept just above freezing so the pipes don't seize up. It's tidy, though. It's tidy and empty, maybe a little dusty, and a little quaint. And it's clear upon entering that the living room was made into a sick room for Samuel's decline.
Okay.
And there's a folding table next to the bed that was made up for him. And on that, there's a thick rustic notebook that's sort of warped with use. And it's full, every page on both sides is chock full of scribbling and illustration. And there are 3 representative images.
Are they claws? Is that a person?
It looks sort of like, hands reaching out with a blank face, with a rib cage and a bunch of floating circle things.
What would Mr. Rorschach say?
Well, Rorschach would say something different depending on whether or not the person drawing it drinks Diet Coke.
Oh, well, this one makes much more sense.
Yes, this makes a lot more sense, Brad.
Yeah, the color streak on the left brings warm hints of relief.
What's it even? It looks like it says something, but
I'm not sure. It's mightily bizarre. That first one was really telling. Like,
what the hell is this?
Like the spheres are all emanating from something. It looks like there's hands trying to block something, push something up.
Is that like, are they like eyes, and is that like a mouth under a hood or something, or am I seeing it?
This is bizarre. Okay. Yeah, we're to take pictures. This is fascinating. I've got to.
Well, we can take this. She said we can take it.
Oh, that's right. Okay, there we go. I'll save the film.
But Brad, I have another thing. What if? Because obviously we have confirmation that Eli died. What if somehow he didn't die, but
well, he obviously didn't die. This is, or he did, and this person's impersonating him.
Yes, but just in a theory that, let's say he didn't die and it's him. What if he brought something back with him because technically he died, and maybe something, I don't know. Or you could be correct. It could be someone else.
In person, yeah. There's
him, because you mentioned a mask and.
The lady the old lady was saying that's not Eli, and then that seems to stand to reason that he isn't Eli, because Eli's dead. So this guy's impersonating Eli.
And that's the thing. Even if it was the real Eli who had died, it still wouldn't be Eli because he had died. It's not Eli anymore.
Well, yeah, obviously the guy is walking around. That's not That's if Eli died, that can't be Eli. So
And
it's
as
someone
you puff
impersonating.
out at each other, gasping in the chill wind, heading back to the clinic.
Yeah, heading back to the clinic. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh,
Do
man.
Shaw, Chambers, and Nix have any activity on the way back to the clinic?
No, not that I can think of.
Well, Doc, do you think that there's any kind of danger? We haven't been able to determine if this is spreading.
But this isn't some disease.
Well, it's
Something is happening to these people, but it's not a disease.
I mean, in the old days, we would have thought that it was some sort of a witch's spell that's putting some nastiness on people, voodoo or.
Well, I'm not gonna say that it's magic, but I mean, somebody surgically operating on these people seems far more probable than a disease at this stage.
Well,
There was no
leaving
marks
no
that would
scars?
indicate. Yes, but
Yeah.
there's nothing that indicates that. But I can't think of any disease, pathogen, parasite. What could do this to a person? I as I said, we have to look at the people who are still alive. That will maybe help us figure out what the hell.
well, I can tell you this. I honestly don't think that Doc Antle would have the expertise to do any kind of surgery like that.
I never said it was him.
Well, no, but I was just saying he's really the only candidate if we're talking about some sort of surgery. And I don't think he's up to that. I think that he would have to send anyone to a major hospital in a bigger city than to do surgery.
The fact that anybody with this condition is still alive or survives at all for any length of time after this occurs, I can't explain it.
Did you all notice that Eli fella, that boy?
Yeah,
He
something
was,
is. Well, I'm worried if he has early stages of it. I know he kept claiming his shrapnel wound from the war, but he wasn't. There was no moisture being exhaled, which is strange to say the least.
You mentioned that earlier. How do you know that?
His breath. I could see everybody else's breath downstairs except for his.
Huh.
Are we back to the to meet up with them yet?
Well, there's Brad McFarlane.
Before we got there, I would say something to Brad. Brad, do not tell the three of them anything yet.
What do you mean?
No. There's a reason. First off, me and you, we go straight to Carolyn first, just because I feel like that is more urgent right now. And then
more urgent? Eli's dead. He's just
yes. But if we tell them and all of us know, it might urge Carolyn, if she's there, to not speak. Whereas if we speak a bit more personally to her before letting them know, it might be better. I do want to tell them, and I would rather tell them as soon as straight away, but I think it's just best to speak to Carolyn first.
Hey, you two, get in the car. We got places to be.
Purely blinding snow.
Please.
The only movement you can see that isn't white is figures, and you're converging on the clinic. 2 from one side, 3 on the other. The white-walled wagon isn't even worth digging out from the church parking lot. It's already iced up and snowed in, and the road's not worth trying to go down a hill in.
Brad,
So you get up and you enter the clinic door, and there's a short carpeted foyer with some dark wood, and in front is the little parlor where you had tea earlier, and there are some stairs on the right side that go up, and Nurse Haddix is partly up those stairs, and she's holding her arms and rocking back and forth and looking nowhere. She's very gaunt.
Is she going up or coming down?
She's seated on the stairs, partway up the first floor.
I'm brushing past to go look at the patients.
Yeah, that's a turn. That's a turn to the left. And
Nurse Haddock, is there everything all right?
Nurse
Haddix is not immediately responsive. she's just rocking as she looks.
Are you okay?
She she blinks once you guys are all around her, shudders a little bit. She's like, "You'll see it. You'll see it. You'll see what she did."
Where's Carolyn?
You'll see it in the clinic.
Okay, quick. Sheriff, no time to explain. We need to get Carolyn right now. No time, Carolyn.
No time to explain what. Let's just go into the clinic.
Oh, well, yeah. Dr. Chambers?
Dr. Chambers was in first. The first thing you notice is a pungent, organic scent, like burnt plant matter, lots of it, heavy, strange. The lamps are lit, but the room is dark. And there is a general distressing sound. The four patients are writhing in beds and cots. Sand check, and each of you as you come in behind Dr. Chambers will face the same concern.
Oh,
That's a fail. That's a fail. I failed.
I got an 08.
56 out of. Oh no, that's my luck. It's 55. It's 60. Okay, I passed. Okay.
So those who passed will only take one. Now I think about it, Jamie and McFarlane should probably have faced some at the house, but it's one shot. We won't worry about it. Those who failed do a 1d4.
4. I take 4.
Yeah. So it's
No.
yeah. So you're feeling wobbly.
We got here too late. It's happening.
Now, as your eyes adjust to the smoke and the dimness, there are the four patients, and the motion of their bodies is violent. Carolyn is sitting with a pleasant smile on sort of a camp stool at the far end of the room, and Eli is standing behind her, affectless as always. And as your senses organize themselves about the space, you recognize that the other sound, in addition to the moaning of the patients, is this echoey muttering noise, pronouncing words that make no sense but feel like words. And there's a shadow in the center of the room that doesn't make sense given the light sources.
I'll try to.
Brad, Chambers, don't go near them, because obviously you're in front of us. Chambers, don't go.
Sheriff, stop them.
What's exactly going on here?
Sheriff, Eli isn't Eli. That man can't be.
Eli died in the war. We have proof of it.
And we have an old woman who says that is not Eli, but it is someone else.
Oh, Mrs. Curtis, my mother's been sick for years. She's very confused. But welcome all. I think that I'm going to be able to cure them.
No,
You
need to explain yourself.
I think I can cure them.
Is this what you tried on the others?
No, I didn't realize that there was something strange until you came. So I just let them go. But now there is something making things wrong, and I'm going to make it better, Carolyn says. He's going to make things better for us. And she looks at the shifting shadow high in the middle of the room.
Carolyn, you need to explain to us, why is Eli there, when he is clearly dead?
Eli is, Carolyn's always been very pleasant and calm. And at that, she looks at you very coldly. Eli came back from the war changed. The war changed a lot of people.
No. Right, I have been nothing but kind to you, Carolyn, but there is a certificate stating he is dead, a legal binding certificate stating Eli is dead.
You snooped in my home?
We did not.
How dare you?
We did not. The door was open and there was a light on and someone was in distress. Someone was shouting. And so we went in. We were looking for Eli and then we stumbled across
Why were you looking for Eli?
because Eli was the last person seen with the first person affected with this illness. So he was our top priority.
Eli's never been infected with this illness. You
No.
people, I thought you people were here to help.
We are
Not
here to help.
at all.
Yes, we are.
You're interfering and you don't understand anything.
We think you are clearly ill yourself, Carolyn.
I've never been ill a day in my life.
Now, Carolyn, why don't you try explaining to us what the hell is going on here? How is this shadow here?
No, they're hurting these patients, Sheriff. Stop them.
Well, how are they hurting the patients?
That can't be Eli. He is legally dead. We have proof.
But they're
That
standing over there and they're not doing anything. The patients are obviously in distress.
As the conversation goes on,
Where's the doctor?
Where is the doctor?
I turn on the light switch as everyone's talking to this room.
God, there's 1 week. Okay.
Before Carol answers about the doctor, McFarley switches on the overhead light. The shadow in the room is mobile and active, and it branches out suddenly when the light comes and then collapses and sort of shoots into the ground, and sane people need to do sanity checks to see such a thing.
I pass again.
Barely passed.
That's another fail.
No.
Oh, that's another fail as well.
I am definitely getting more of an education than I had initially thought.
Passing, I think, should still cost 2, and failing a 1d6. Particularly because in the immediate aftermath, 2 of the patients gasp, and 2 of them are clearly dead.
Oh, God.
And oh, 6. Nice.
Not good.
And the 2 who passed are contorted grotesquely.
Oh.
Not smashed, but just bent out of reason.
Could I make an intelligence roll?
Please make an intelligence roll.
Why do I have to have high intelligence? I have 75 intelligence and I just rolled a 33.
Very good. I've got my extended. So I'd like you to roll another D100.
Oh, jeez.
Oh, that's a 7.
7. You are compelled to immediate violence. You are going to smash, break, or hurt something right now, and you have no choice in the matter. So you can choose your target, or try to.
He's around me. Like
I'm by the light switch.
Carolyn is probably the second farthest thing. Carolyn's at the other side of the room with Eli right behind her. You've got your colleagues right around you and 4 cots two of which contain corpses, and two of which people who were going.
I was speaking, so I'd be close to Chambers because Chambers was first, so it'd probably be Chambers.
All right. So you can make it a brawl roll, and Chambers, you can try to respond. And the sheriff should try to respond to you, probably.
Well, yeah. If Jamie suddenly starts attacking Dr. Lawrence, I'm going to probably instinctively pull out my gun.
I just rolled a 99. So
Okay.
And Miss Curtis, get a hold of yourself.
I'm not even hitting you, I'm hitting the air in front of you.
Miss Curtis, pull yourself together.
Where's the doctor?
I'm ignoring Curtis, who's apparently not hurting me effectively. I'm going to the patients that are gasping.
The nearest one is the teen boy, Abel, and he's got some color in his cheeks, and he's just like, he's gasping like somebody who was held underwater for a minute and is just now up.
And everything's fine with him now.
Well, I mean,
kind of.
It may be.
Maybe, who knows?
It's better than it was. His eyes are focusing. He's got some color, and the breaths seem deep.
Okay, with a stethoscope, are his heart and lungs still in the right spots?
Nothing obviously is abnormal about them. Now Carolyn has stood up.
Okay, and I've gone over by her. Just to say, now, Carolyn, you got to tell us what's going on here. And I've got my gun out at this point. Is this something that you're doing to these poor folks?
What just happened was the best I could do to cure as many as I could. It worked a few years ago, some, and it worked this time, some, but this time there's something else. It's something I don't understand. None of you understand. Nobody listens. There's something on the hill. There's something on the hill, and that's what's making people sick. And if you want to help, you can come, or you can stay here. But whatever it is, it's on Camphor Hill.
Well, what happened a few years ago? What do you mean you did this a few years ago? The Spanish flu.
Yeah, the flu. Everybody I treated got better.
So, and I turned to the others to say, have you found information that some of these people went up onto Camphor Hill hunting?
That was with Sammy. Sammy went up there and with Eli. And they came back, and then right after, that's when Sammy got ill.
Well, then maybe that's our connection there.
But why wouldn't Eli get sick? Because he was exposed to the same thing.
Well, also...
There's a legal document signed that Eli died in the war.
Yes, but maybe they were wrong. They don't always get those things right.
Are you telling me that there's a dead man standing in front of me?
An imposter. Also, the old lady at the house was claiming that's not Eli.
And the old lady...
And Carolyn says again, my mother barely survived the flu herself. My father died. She's very sick. And how dare you break into my home? What is wrong with you people? You're monsters. And she's sort of pulling on stuff and preparing to head out into the blizzard. She's like, Eli, we're going.
Sheriff, Nix, you can't let them.
I've got to see what they're talking about. Maybe Dr. Lawrence needs to come with us, or at least
I'll come. Shaw. But I need to check.
Carolyn, where's the doctor?
He hasn't come back from his rounds. Who knows?
To follow them.
All right. So as we're going out, and I'm right behind Carolyn. I'm like, Carolyn, It's crazy for me to ask this, but we're country folk out here. Is this some sort of a wise woman stuff that you're doing, witchcraft, or?
Sheriff, we have to hurry. It wasn't a woman. It was Old Man Cadwell. Eli and I learned from Old Man Cadwell. Wherever he rests now. There's no time to talk. There's something in the hill, and it's eating everybody. And so we're gonna
eating.
That's what she said. Yeah. It's a nasty blizzard, and things are cracking off. You know, there's bits of slate coming off roofs and porches breaking. But because it's dramatically tedious to have two of you fall over in the snow and die, we'll just get you as a group up toward Camphor Hill. Only some of you came prepared, obviously. And yeah, you probably whatever you could garner. You knew you were going into January in North Dakota when you came. You brought suitable clothing and some stuff. Would each of you give me a luck roll, please?
There's a fail.
That's a
pass. 39.
That's a pass.
That is a fail by 1. So
I'm sorry, I missed McFarley.
Oh, I got a extreme 10 out of 55.
Very good. So you start to lead and clear a little bit of path through the snow, although Carolyn and Eli are making good time. Before you guys cross the main intersection, Mrs. Curtis and Mr. Shaw, you begin to find yourself shallow of breath. It's a dry cough that makes you feel weak. And the sheriff and the doctor, seeing you flagging, will certainly assist you on your way. Past the church cemetery, the ground gets steeper, which actually helps a little bit because the snow thins in the lee of the hill, and there are more trees to break it up. But it would have been dusk, and with the heavy cloud cover, the sky is just a roiling purple. And Carolyn and Eli are both sort of casting about on the hill. And Carolyn's ranting and screaming things that you can't understand. They're probably not English, although the wind takes them away. Would the two unwell, Curtis and Shaw, give me con rolls? Dark chuckles.
That's a fail.
Mine is the 0.
Can I spend some luck and bump that up a couple points and make it an extreme critical fail?
Well, happily, Ms. Curtis did that for you.
Oh, delightful.
So as you both stumble, and your peers are trying to help you up, Dr. Chambers, Mr. Shaw's going to need attention. He seems to be having an attack. Mrs. Curtis, you can see a tall, shrouded figure that has no face. And it's beckoning you with one bony hand, and it's pointing up the hill with the other.
I see him.
Maybe those who are conscious should do listen rolls to see if Ms. Curtis can be recognized.
I failed.
A which roll?
A listen.
Listen. Oh,
Can I spend 3 points to pass?
Certainly. You can cup your ear and lean in.
Pointing away.
yeah. We'll do that.
Going away. I see him.
You see who, Miss Curtis?
Would I save a faceless one?
A faceless shrouded man.
The faceless one. He points away. The faceless one.
That's what all the sick people say.
He points away.
Delusional ramblings. That's exactly the same thing. I looked towards where she's pointing.
Yeah. All right. And as you guys are communing, Carolyn sees what you're about. And you can't hear her voice again over the storm because they're a little bit up the hill. But she points Eli, and Eli starts to shovel at the ground with his bare hands. Again, he's wearing a late fall jacket.
Right.
And he starts shoveling in the snow. And beneath the snow, there is a pile of rocks that he starts to prise apart. And he pauses occasionally, and Carolyn sort of yells at him. And he's pulling off these stones that are frozen together. And as the strong among you drag the weak forward, and as Mr. McFarley takes photographs, not knowing that the gelatinous film is frozen completely, and he's just moving bits of shrapnel of frozen post film around inside his camera that'll never work again. The stones are enough. Stones are pulled off that there is a figure revealed, and Carolyn, who's coughing violently herself, collapses on the figure. Eli looks down at them and then turns and walks off into the winter woods to the north. And Carolyn, she is lost on this corpse. And the corpse, when you can get light to it, will match photographs of Eli Hutchins, who hasn't been seen since he left for the Great War. And that's all that we know about what happened in Eisner that winter.
Well, I'm getting out of here.
Yes. So, luckily, Jamie Curtis couldn't do any harm during her madness. When you get back to town and try to revive the remaining nurse and heat the place up and sit around and tell each other your stories, you'll find Shaw and Curtis have suffered frostbite. Curtis is going to need some time in care. The two patients who are dead. Everyone else in town recovers. There is not a plague. There is not a contagion, or there isn't any longer. So in that regard, your work is done.
Oh,
Well, I'm going to be writing a very weird report.
I'm never going to talk about this again.
what the hell am I going to write for the Daily News?
Nothing. You're going to write not a damn thing.
I'm going to have to spend more time to get my Masters. This
So
isn't gonna count.
you
This isn't gonna count towards anything. It's gonna get everything is gonna get laughed off of
No,
any
Miss-
board it goes to.
Mr. Shaw,
Survival
you
and
assisted me with 2 autopsies that declared that these people died of natural causes, and that the threat of a infectious disease was not present. So you helped immensely with that. So we are going to get you some.
Kirk,
That's what we
right.
found here.
Doc Antle comes back from his things, and we're like, "Yeah, everything's fixed." We're like, so, Keeper, explain to us what was going on.
So, Carolyn and Eli, when they were innocent and young, used the old Cadwell house, which we didn't get to visit, as a place for their secret rendezvous. The Cadwells had a reputation, and they left some things behind that the kids studied and followed up on and experimented with. And then Eli was drafted and left for the war. And it was announced that he perished. And so Carolyn summoned something to replace him because she couldn't be without him. And it's been a very faithful simulacrum since the bad news came. Unfortunately, the spell she used that gave this amorphous thing his face and voice took the face and voice from the real Eli, who hadn't died. He made it back from Europe on January 1st. And on the hunting trip, he met the false Eli and poor Samuel. And the false Eli struck him down and buried him in a cairn because he didn't want to give up his existence. But Eli had enough magic in him to use a similar spell to the one Carolyn used to help people during the flu to revive himself. The problem is it takes living essence from things for itself. So from Camphor Hill, where he's buried in the cairn, this essence, he's been sucking the life out of things near him. Sam Eastman was the first one to go because he was present at the attack. And then it's been radiating from Camphor Hill. So you were right to look for a map relationship at the beginning. And Carolyn had no idea that Eli had come back, and the false Eli didn't want to do anything except interfere that relationship and retain his position. And it's still out there.
Cool. Interesting. Our players included Morgan Llewellyn, Stuart Lively, Josh Harwood, Brian Daly, and myself, with David Gassaway as the keeper of the secrets. We have a Discord server where you can chat with our members, you can set up private games, and you can learn the finer arts of gameplay and game mastering. There's a link below. We're currently producing up to 4 shows a week with music and sound effects added in post-production in order to create a richer listener experience. We provide audio-only versions of our shows free for you to download from Podbean or iTunes. The costs involved with the show are provided almost entirely by our patrons. Without them, we wouldn't be able to do what we do. If you'd like to help support our show, please visit our Patreon account. Just $1 a month helps us a lot. You can find a link in the description below. Like, share, and subscribe to our channel, and punch the bell icon for updates on our latest shows. And leave us some comments. We enjoy reading them and answering any questions you might have. This is Tom Rayleigh, together with all the members of our gaming club, inviting you to journey with us once again into the darkness for another adventure into the universe of H.P. Lovecraft and the Call of Cthulhu role-playing game. Until next time, good luck and good gaming.